Hello, everyone. You're welcome to today's episode. Thank you for staying put. Thank you for being on this show. Thank you for being a regular watcher and coming up here every evening, every Monday evening. And today we are live and we have a special guest with us. Her name is Sophia. But before I go into bringing our guest today, I'll just go straight to talking about what the show is all about. Congratulations on your journey to making a difference. I'm so excited you're getting on this journey with me. We can become that change agent we're all called to be. And on this show, Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh, we do not only train, we teach, we mentor, and we coach people on how they can become better versions of themselves in the areas of their finances, their business, their career, leadership, skills, and relationship. And we learn from other people's stories and other people's experience, just like we'll be sharing with Sophia today. I mean, those who have gone ahead of us, so we can write on their experience to avoid the pitfalls that they fell in time past, rather than reinventing the wheel, so that we can soar higher like the eagles, and we can get to our goals and our visions and our destined points faster than we plan to get. Making a difference do not only includes being financially okay, doing great on the front in all business front. It goes beyond that. It's being a 360-degree personality, being a change agent, being a person of integrity, a person, a leadership, a leader, a leader. And so we have today our guest who will be coming on board to speak with us. Her name is Sophia Gilles, and she has over 20 years of experience working with women management sector and of finance. She began a career in wealth. She has over 20 years of experience, extensive experience with wealth management sector of finance. She began a career in wealth management in the UBS in Tampa, Florida in 2003. As an intern, while attending the University of Tampa, she went on to become a service associate in Tampa, accepted a role as a recruit onboarding specialist in New York, which brought her back to her hometown of Mount Vernon, New York. In that role, she led training sessions and assisted management teams in the execution of successful transition of ultra high network advisors across the East Coast. While sitting in that seat, Sophia was determined to become the FINRA registered in the security industry to be prepared for future opportunities. Sophia obtained the following: the FINRA license Series 763, Series 66, Series C3, Series 8, Series 10. She then became one of the youngest African American manager across the industry at the age of 25 as a complex operation manager, managing operations for over 22 billion in assets. Awesome. Later, Sophia joined Morgan Stanley in 2012 as an associate vice president and business service manager for the Sandview complex in Greenwich City. This complex includes seven offices ranging from the New Haven, the city to purchase New York. She has since then been promoted and the first vice president at Morgan Stanley, serving as the complex service manager in the Northern New Jersey complex. Her current responsibility includes increasing client connectivity and penetration to enhance revenue generation across the complex, and leading a service and business management team for over 500 financial advisors and support professionals. Sophia is actively involved in a community also, and all actually believes that the way to achieve your own success is to be willing to help somebody else get it first. So with that, she serves as a mentor with Girls Incorporated, as a member of the National Diversity and Inclusion Council at Morgan Stanley, and served as the co-director of a youth outreach program, Mind Shapers. Sophia continues a passion for learning. She's currently attending an executive MBA at Fordham University, all while being a mother to 11-year-old twins, Sika and Savannah, and a 5.5-year-old son. She's a wife and a mother. Awesome. Great to have her. So we'll be learning from her, hearing a story, and that'll be great to have her on this show. Hey, you're welcome.
So,
Great to have you on
hi.
this show.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you for honoring the invitation. Thank you for taking our time to spend some time with us, telling us your great story. Great to have you. And the floor is all yours now. As our audience would like to hear from you, from the
Oh,
author's mouth. Tell us about yourself, what you're doing presently, what you read in the college, what informed you, your progress so far, and how you've made a difference in your world.
thank you so much, Sandra, for having me. What an invitation, and thank you guys for that wonderful welcome.
Thank you.
I am excited to be here, kind of to share a little bit about my journey, and certainly if you have questions, tell me and help me navigate this space because life is pretty broad. So you guys tell me what you want to hear, and certainly I'll do my best. I think my bio is interesting to hear, right? I think every time it's read, not because I wasn't a part of the work, but because sometimes I am still very much a little thrown off by that woman, right? And where I started from. And I come from humble beginnings, an island background, immigrant parents, first generation. And with that, you're expected to succeed, but not sure how that is going to translate, right? We don't know what success looks like because for many of us, we're the first generation, and that was my story. So when I hear in my bio read, right, because it's not often, every now and then I do a couple of speaking engagements and panels. Um, I'm always a little shocked by who is that girl, and then I got to remind myself that I am that girl. So I went to college. Education was a big part of what we had to do. It wasn't an option in our house. It was the reason we came to this country. My father was very adamant that we had to go get an education, and we did just that. I only applied to two colleges, if I'm honest, and they were both in Florida, University of Tampa and University of Miami. And the going there and getting accepted was a big deal. We chose University of Tampa simply because they gave us the most scholarship money. That was really it. Never visited it. Never said, "Hey, let me go check it out." But I knew that there wasn't really an option to fail. We were here to get education, and we went there, and I loved it. I truly started growing into myself at the University of Tampa. Um, I understood that the world wasn't as small as I was used to in my small town that I grew up with a lot of minorities like myself. It had now become this big space. I was able to travel and be exposed and got to study abroad in Spain and do some different things and be shown some different things. And it started me, excuse me, on
Sure.
this journey of loving to travel. And I'm grateful for that experience. While I was there, I got to do cool things. I was president of Black Student Union. I headed up some things for NPHC. I got to study abroad, as I mentioned. I met my best friend in the world to this day. So I think I wouldn't fully be me. I wouldn't have known how big Sophia was going to be if I didn't go away to school. And not just away, I needed to go away, away from the family, away from the limitations put on me in my town and community sometimes, right? Because they they don't know yet how far you can go, and so sometimes they keep you in a safe zone. And for me, going to college kept me outside of that safe zone, right? I got to see people that were doing different things. I was started in finance, as I think Sandra mentioned. While I was in college, I had to work, and I started working at UBS Financial Services, and I had no idea really what that was. I just knew it was an internship posted in the Career Services Center. And I got into this industry, and I just never left. I loved it. I didn't see anyone that looked like me. There was one in the office that I worked in, and I was determined then that there had to be more, and I didn't want to be the one that I saw because she was an assistant, if I'm honest. She was just an assistant. But she was like a mom to me. She took me under her wing. Her name's Sherry, and I love her. To this day, I speak to her. But I couldn't understand why she was just an assistant. And I saw the managers come and go, and I saw the financial advisors come and go. And I couldn't figure out why there wasn't anyone that looked like me in those spaces. So I worked through college. And when I graduated, I decided I wanted to come back to New York because it was the financial capital of the world. and why not? Um, and I was very bold. I sent an email to the regional manager in New York and said, I'm here. Here's what I'm doing. I'd like a job in New York. No one replied. So a couple of months went by, no one replied. I replied again. I sent another email and I said, listen, I think I really want a job. I have no idea, but I'd like a job in New York. I'm from New York. I'm graduating. And I got an email that said Deb Pickard will be in touch. And I didn't know who Deb Pickard was, but then I sent her an email and called her and stalked her a bit. And Deb Pickard hired me. She said, I don't know what you're going to do in New York for us, um, but we're going to pay you this much and we'll figure it out. And I had options. I think it was JP Morgan Chase and in a rotational program in Centrist Bank out of Atlanta. And I went with the devil I knew, so to speak, right? I knew UBS, I knew culturally, I knew the systems, and that was going to be my in for them. And I took that job, and that job allowed me to travel all of the US. I lived out of a suitcase. I traveled. I onboarded financial advisors from our competitors. I learned the ins and outs of our competitors and welcomed people to the firm and made sure that the management teams were trained and able to welcome them. I got registered um, and I got to stay in some of the best hotels in the country, making no money, on someone else's dime. And I think it was another experience that continued to broaden my love for traveling. So I'm not sure how you want me to move on from here, but
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question. I want
sure.
to find out what you read in college was probably different from what you're doing presently. What informed what you read, and why you're doing something differently? This I want people to understand that sometimes you go to college not because you want to, use the degree to read. I believe college is just a platform for you for exposure, for you to network, for you to meet other people. Sometimes it might be your passion, it might be what you use to live forever. Sometimes you might have to move or transit from what you've read in the college to something else. So we want to learn from you what informed your choice and what are you doing presently and what made you transited from that college degree to what you're doing presently.
So it's funny. What I did in college is actually what I'm doing now, right? I have two degrees. One was in finance and one was in management. And it's very rare that you come out and you're doing that. And God set my path up where I couldn't have planned it better myself. So I landed at UBS. I switched my major from education to finance because of my job at UBS in financial services in wealth management. Um, but when I graduated, I didn't know, right, that I still had not really understood what I was going to be doing for a living, right? I didn't really wrap my head around that. I will tell you that in the space that I'm at now, I hire people every day with sociology degrees, with financial degrees, but also psychology degrees. I think I hired a biology major 2 months ago. And the reason is what you're saying, Sandra, right? We go to school to get a basis of education. And I think one of the purposes of undergraduate education is to birth well-rounded people, right? It's not necessarily to say you're going to come out and already you're going to know everything about biology to be biologist or a chemistry to be a chemist or even finance to be a financial advisor. What it says is that you have the ability to learn and you've learned how you learn and that you're coachable and teachable and you can start and finish something. And I think those are the qualities that college give us, So I happen to have gotten a finance degree and happen to have minored or majored in management. Um, but I'm not sure that I learned everything in college, but in tandem, I was also working. So I was using both ends while I was in school. So when I came out, ideally, right, I was a complete package on the outside. On the inside, that was a little different. But on the outside, I looked like a complete package.
I didn't get you on the inside. You were what?
On the inside, I had some work to do, but on the outside, I looked like a complete package.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now that's what happens a lot of times, and that's why learning is limitless. Learning is you don't have a time where you stop learning. You
Hmm.
keep learning until you're no longer living, because the moment you stop learning, that's when you start going down. So a lot of times we go to college just because we want to have the basis. We want to network. We want to show that we can start something and we can finish. and also that we're teachable, we're able to learn, and we're coachable. That's it. And getting all the degrees sometimes prepares you on the outside. Inwardly, you might not be prepared. And mostly, what you need to do on the inside has to do with you. More of you sitting down to build values, to read. And I'm sure we met in the mastermind with John Maxwell. One of the reasons you were in the mastermind, I guess, was because you get what I mean. We wanted to learn. We read a book. We come together to just in order for us to be able to digest and and get all the facts that we want to get from the book. So a lot of times when we open ourselves up to learning, it's for us to build the inside, not the outside. Learning helps the inside. It helps you to bring out the best in you. And so if you do not have anything, and that's why they said garbage in, garbage out, just like a computer. What you put in the computer is what the computer will give you. So if you have nothing on your inside, what you will reflect at the end of the day will be nothing. And that's what he said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. It is what you put on the inside that begins to reflect, that begins to tell people that this is your character, this is your values, this is how you look. And this will either determine either you are going to attract people or you're going to repel people. So I want to find out now that what you're doing right now, you find fulfillment in doing it, you're happy doing it. Did you get
Actually,
what I said?
you said, "Am I doing it and am I happy doing it?"
Yes, because you went for medication.
Hmm.
And what informed you to change? Your parents, or you just thought of it?
So a little bit of both, right? I don't even give my father the credit of telling me to change, even though he is a big part of why I changed career, my major. So I went into school as an education major, as I mentioned, and I wanted to be a principal, right? I had worked with kids, I had worked with young people, and I wanted to be a principal. And my very island father said, "We're not paying on $23,000 for you to come out and make $23,000." That's what he said to me. And I went, "Oh my gosh, why would you say that to your daughter? Like, you're supposed to go find yourself." He goes, "We didn't come to America to find ourselves. We came here for opportunity and to make money." And that's what he said. And when I changed my major, I didn't tell him for a very long time. I took an accounting class and I hated it, right? But I liked the numbers, but I hated it. I took a finance class and I happened to love it. And what I learned was when you get to school, when you get to college, just figure out what you love to do and do it, right? And then you'll figure out the rest. If you are educated, you can open up doors for yourself, but you don't have to know everything about it when you graduate, because I certainly did not. What what does end up happening is that you use, I think you should use the years, and I guess it's 4 years for most, to learn what you love to do. And I love numbers, and I saw that as a way to make money, right? Because I wasn't going to college to be poor. And I've always been very adamant about the fact that I wanted to be financially sound. And I take no qualms and I don't apologize for that, right? Because I didn't go to school because I just wanted education. I wanted to be able to sustain a lifestyle, and I wanted to be able to provide for my family. And I didn't know what that family was going to look like back then, but I knew I didn't want to be poor. That's all I knew, was that I knew what poor looked like from my right and my left and in my hustle, and I did not want that. And we weren't even poor, thank God. We always had, I never felt out of place until I got to college. And what I did learn was when I graduated, what I am doing now, I happen to love, but it's not the finance part that I love. It's the people part. So I'm responsible for about 447 people in our complex. And that includes everything from financial advisors and their investments in the market and making sure they do right by their clients. But the part I love the most is that education piece that I started out for. And I get to coach and develop what we call our support professionals through their careers. I get to hire them literally sometimes out of college when they have no idea what they're going to be. I get to give them advice and help them navigate a space. And then many of them move on. And if I do my job properly, they move on soon. And they go out and they start to flourish. And that is still the education piece. And that is still the part I love the most. And that is still why I do Girls Inc. and did a program called Mind Shapers and mentor especially women that look like me, because I didn't have one of me. So I think that you can always tie in a little bit of both, right? So I work in wealth management, I work in finance, but I still get to coach and develop people. And that's the part that I loved and why I selected education.
Hey, just like John Maxwell always said, we're people of value. adding value to people, because
Mhm.
you must see value in yourself in order for you to be able to add value to people. And when you're called to start the journey, you don't get to see the whole of the journey before you start. The
Mhm.
journey keeps unraveling as you go on. Because sometimes I know if we get to see the end of the journey, most of us probably would abandon the journey. Some of us would say we're not going on again because sometimes you don't know the kind of challenges you meet. And so that's why when you even set a vision and a goal to where you want to be, knowing from this is where I am and this is where I want to be tomorrow, you don't get to know what tomorrow holds. All you do, you go there in faith. You go there striving, putting all you can to become the best that you can. Like you said, you became, you went to school to become a well rounded person, not because of anything. And you went to school with the mindset you can't afford to be poor. And true, you can be in school. And once you're open to learning, you're able to, learn more. You're able to learn more, and you became a well-rounded person. You became coachable, and you figure out that as time goes on, you get to see what you love, because they said good practice makes perfect. So what you get your hands on, as long as you continue to do that, you get perfect. You get to find out your strengths, and you get to find out what you would do that you don't need to be called upon, and you find joy in doing it. Just like what you said, you're a people's person. You're coaching a lot of people, and the education aspect of your career is helping you to be able to coach people, teach people, and your focus is on people, helping people. And most times when you speak to them, you're able to help them, guide them into their chosen career, whatever they want to do. And sometimes you don't get to know what you want to do in life. You just start out and say, okay, I love this. I like what I'm doing. But as time goes on, you begin to transit from one thing to the other. Like you said, you don't have to see the whole of the road before you commence on a journey, because you're traveling from Atlanta to New York. You don't know what is in Florida. You don't know what is in Kentucky. But the journey, you have to commence it. If you don't commence it, you will not get to your destined point. And that's what it is with life too. If you don't commence your training, you don't commence the education you need to get, you don't commence the reading of a book, you never know what is in there for you or what is in store for you. So you've got to put yourself into learning. You've got to be ready to do whatever you find yourself doing, and do it to the best of your knowledge, because whilst doing it, you get good. And whilst doing it, you find your passion. Whilst doing it, if you were never in school, I'm probably thinking you probably would never have gone to, thinking of doing finance. You were in education, you probably that thought will never come, because you're being exposed every day. And so that was what informed you. And it's okay, I can move from education to finance. You understand? And that, you find that because you were in the midst of intellectuals, you're able to learn. You're also learning. You're also improving yourself. You're able to say, okay, I can add this to what I'm doing, and that was a plus for you. You did not only get the education aspect to be a teacher, a principal, or whatever, but you also have the financial freedom, wealth management in it. And so you're able to help people. You're able to be a blessing to others. I also want to find out from you, have you been able to manage being a career person and also managing your family?
Absolutely not. No. I think that it's always a work in progress, right? And I think that we are works in progress.
We're all work in progress.
But I think that yes, I think that I wasn't really planning on this stage of life, right? When I saw myself, and if I'm honest, when I saw myself moving forward, I didn't picture a husband, I didn't picture kids. I used to say I was going to be Oprah, like I was going to be like, oh, the guy. But I just, and I also, I think that the more I reflect on that, I didn't know what healthy relationships look like, right? If I'm truthful and honest, and I hadn't seen partnership in that way. I saw very old school traditional marriages where men did this and women did that, and I knew I wasn't a traditional woman. So I think that as I evolved and I grew and I learned, I've been married now I think 8 years, right? I think 8 years, 7 8 years, and I've been with my husband for a little over 10. Oh, I lied. I've been with my husband probably 12 years. And we have twin girls who turn one tomorrow, which is very exciting.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I have a 6-year-old son who just turned 6 2 weeks ago. Um, So we are very busy. But what I do love about my husband is he is very supportive, right? And we are absolutely, we call ourselves Team Jokes. And we operate as a team. And I think that that's what allows, there are times when he's on the forefront and his life is busy and I have to take a little bit of a step back. And then there's times where, like now, I'm in graduate school. And to your point, that when you go into undergrad, you have no idea why you're there. You just know you're going to get an education, right, of some sort. But I was very intentional, not only in when I went to graduate school, but also why I was going. And that's a team conversation also, right? Because that adds to the finances, that adds to the time. We talked a little bit behind the scenes, Sandra, about the help and the village that has to come into play. And
Yeah.
that means that we have in-house help, we have family, we have a big village that helps us. And that allows me to that balance. I think that what I've learned throughout the years is Sophia is a part of the equation, right? And the time I take to reflect on myself, the time I take to go to dinner with girlfriends, the time I take to just sit in quiet, right? And think about my dynamic. Did I do what I call was called to do? Am I still operating in me? Matters. And I don't think that that's always something we do as women, right? We just go. And my kids, in turn, by me doing those things, they get a better mom, they get a happier mom, they get a present mom. My husband gets a happy wife, dare I say, right? When we go on a date, I'm not burdened, but I'm smiling, right? I understand I have things that I love that I'm doing that I get to tell him about, and vice versa. And so when it comes to balance, it's a constant work in progress, right? It's always a work in progress. But I have learned to let go of mommy guilt. You know, my kids will see a happy mom and they will see two healthy parents that work together. And that's the goal that we continue to work on. Not because we're perfect at any point in time, but because we continue to work on that. So
Awesome.
balance is coming. It's a constant work in progress.
Yeah, it is always a work in progress for everyone. And I love what you said. You said two parents working together as one. You're actually modeling teamwork in your family. You understand? Because I often tell people that what you do is what your children are watching you. They're actually not doing what you tell them to do. They
Hmm.
actually, pictures resonate and stay longer in your memory than what you say, than words. So a lot of times, what they see you and your spouse doing is what they emulate. Because I oftentimes tell people, I say, whatever you do is what people see. People don't see what you say. People don't see what you write. So likewise, you said you don't. You have to have a supporting spouse. That's awesome. Kudos to having a great spouse who is there. Ready to support you and ensuring that you live out your dream. Because a lot of times, if you don't have a supporting family member, a supporting spouse, a help there, you get burnouts and you don't get to achieve your dreams because you get to stay unfulfilled because you have a lot, you're overwhelmed, and you're cranky because you have too much on you, you're doing too much. Because as women, we are multitaskers. We do a lot of things. We take care of the family. We're good moms. We want to be a good wife. We want to be good friends. We want to be a good daughter to God. We want to also be an all-rounder, being a blessing to everyone. And just like as you spoke, you have to make time for the family. You also have to make time for girlfriends. You also have to make out time for, being a blessing to others around you, even in the ministry. So there's so much we're called to do in our time. And in getting to know that, it is critical. It's critical. We know that you cannot do all these things by yourself. You need a supporting team. You need people you can be accountable to. You need people who can be there for you, who can support you. You need people who can tell you the truth, who can tell you that what you're doing right now is not the right thing. This is the way you have to do it. You need to get people who you're accountable to. You need to have someone you look up to like a mentor. You need to have someone who can call you to order when you're doing wrong, because no one is an island of knowledge. We're all in the process to becoming the best versions of ourselves, and we're all work in progress.
If I could interject there, only because I get this question a lot sometimes when I'm having conversations. When we talk about the village, I think that so many people feel burdened by that, right? They assume that you were given this wonderful village. And for anyone, for women particularly, who are Like, but I didn't get a great family. I don't have a great support system. I don't have the village. I don't have the wonderful partnership. You get to select your village, and I don't. You're not always birthed into that village, and it's okay. And I just want to stop right there for 2 seconds because I think I was asked on a different panel, like what happens when you don't have that village. You build it, right? So that's when you start to build it. Some of your village can be hired help, right?
Yeah.
Some of your village can be selected help. I have girlfriends that I cherish more than many of the family members, if I'm honest, because they have been through all of the storms and understand. And sometimes your family, um, who I happen to have a really great family that I love, but the women in my family were very traditional, and I was not, right. And if I'm joking, they're picking out the drapes and changing the curtains for Christmas, and that just wasn't my dynamic. And when I went and decided I wanted to study abroad or take a job that required travel when I had kids, or go back to school when I my girls were 6 weeks old, they looked at me like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" Because their journey does isn't in line with mine. And sometimes you can't listen to that village. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have to build your village from about outside. So, when we talk about the village, I just want you to understand, and folks understand, that you have to be very intentional with your village, and you have a choice. If you were not birthed into the village you love, select them, hire them, build them. It doesn't always just come pretty, and those people with the village don't just succeed. So I just wanted to stop there and mention that, because sometimes I think the words get lost in the village if it's your
Yeah.
mom.
Awesome. I appreciate that feedback. Sometimes, if you do not have the supporting family, the supporting village, it's not too late to build your village. It's not too late. I thank you, Sophia, for that word, because we can all have it easy and simple. Some people have it the hard way. Some people have to learn the hard way. But that's be that as it may. But it's not the end of the world. You can start building your village. And if you remember, I told you there are three things that makes a man: the book you read, the people you have around you, and the environment you grow. If you are in such an abusive environment, you're not having the right support to grow, to move to your next level. Sometimes you have to be intentional. It's not easy, and you have to make a choice. God has
Mhm.
given us, a mindset to be able to make a choice. You choose what you want to do, and so you have to choose who you want to be in your circle of friends, who you want to be as your village, your circle of friends, your environment. You have to make that choice. It might be difficult because some friendship might have been there for 20 years, 30 years, so long, but they are not the right circle of friends you need to have. It might be difficult for you to say no, or close the door of them and say, "I'm sorry, I've got to move on." You have to make that effort. And you have got to be intentional. You can't please everyone. If you live by pleasing everyone, you will never get your dream. You can't be a man pleaser. More so, you have to please God and also please yourself. You must ask yourself, am I doing what I want to do? Am I living in fulfillment, or I'm living in regrets? Because a lot of times we go through challenges, and the first thing I ask people, when you go through challenges, what does it do to you? Does it make you better? Does it leave you bitter? We must learn that when we go through challenges, they are meant to bring the best in us. They're meant to bring about creativity in us. We need to think and look outside the box. And so sometimes when we go through pains, we are not actually going through those pains for ourselves alone. There are other people coming behind us that God wants us, to, mentor, to be there for them, to tell them our own stories. Just like Sophie is sharing a story with us today. We're there to mentor and help others coming behind the scene. And you also spoke about it is not easy to build. It is easy to, bring down a building. But putting it together to build is a lot more difficult. I want to encourage you, our viewers, if you're watching us for the first time, please kindly like, subscribe, and hit the notification bells. And also note that building is not easy. It's not easy at all to build. So you must give in your best. Even when you're tearing apart, you're in pains, please keep going on. There's this word by Martin Luther. It says, you must be moving. If you cannot crawl, if you cannot work, crawl. If you cannot, whatever, just make sure you're moving. Make sure you're learning one thing or the other. We'll be taking a 1 minute break for now before we come back to discuss the pain points, greatest achievements. When we had low moments, how did we overcome? Did we remain in our pains, or did we move from the pain to, did you move from the test to a testimony? Did we move from pain to gain? Because a lot of times those things will come. Surely you will surely have low moments. You have temptations, you have persecutions, you have difficult times. But when we come back, we'll go back to that and discuss more on that. Thank you so much. Let me take a break. Hello, we're back. Yeah, I thank you so much, Sophia, and thank you, viewers, for staying put. And we go to the next questions. I want to find out from you when you had a low moment, a difficult time. How did you manage, and how did you come out through from it?
So it's an interesting dynamic, right? Because I think that you said it before the break, right? Did we turn our test into a testimony? And if I'm honest, I think I'm living through my test now. So I mentioned that I have twin girls, and they will be one tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And that in itself has been a test. And because of it, I went back to school, to graduate school, when they were 6 weeks old. And, everyone stands up and introduces themselves, and you give like a fun fact about yours. And mine was that I had 60-week-old twins at home. And I started on this journey that I knew was going to be intense, right? In terms of being in graduate school with twins, with no sleep. And it's an international executive MBA. And what that means is it requires travel. I already travel for work, and I was just getting back into work. So I was traveling. I encourage women the best I can. But I also have to live in my truth, and I'm very transparent about the journey. And we started out on this journey with my twin girls, very different girls, Skylar and Savannah. And I was in one of my complexes, one of the branches, very far away, and I got a video from our help, um, and it showed her like having like a seizure or a spasm, and I had to drive about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and I was in panic. I was in panic, like I had no idea. The pediatrician said get her to the emergency room now. We went to the specialty hospital, and we didn't know what was happening. And we brought her into the hospital. And that day, I had said yes to a speaking engagement at Black Enterprise, which is a big deal, right? It was Women of Power, Black Enterprise. It was in Vegas. I had literally just said yes and had to hang up because of our au pair calling us. And we went in, and my baby girl was in the hospital for a week. And I said, oh, okay. Like, so it just throws off life when this little one that you birthed, nothing is harder than watching your children in pain. Flash forward, that was in March, and I was going, or February, and we were going to Vegas at the end of that month. And I said, okay, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And it was this opportunity that I don't know that I would have ever gotten. I called my girlfriend, that village, and she came with me. And while I was there and smiling pretty and encouraging these women on this panel, which was wonderful, I was crying in the corner with a team of neurologists. And I was on the phone with the pediatrician. And we were trying to figure out what was going on with this lovely baby girl of mine.
Hmm.
And, you come back and you get somewhat of a plan. And then I'm in school. I was literally doing my finals in the hospital. I was the nursing station, and it was, am I going to quit school? Am I going to keep pushing? I was hiring people, firing people, running a whole business. And I was like, what do I take off my plate with this burden? And I always, people say, oh my gosh, you're getting your degree for your children. And I say, no, they're going to get their own degrees. That's their job. This is for mommy. This is absolutely for me. because don't want to look any of them in their faces and tell them to do everything in life that God has them to do, and I haven't done that. So I am still living my testimony. My daughter was diagnosed with a very rare genetic disorder. We are still pushing through and fighting through. There are not many children, so we don't know, which I think is almost, it's hard for me because by accident I'm a control freak, but I'm a believer in God. And I think that the fact that I don't know anything is where I have to trust God, and I'm pushing through the test to get to the testimony. So I am, there are many, right, in life that come up, but today I'm living through the test. So I'll tell you later how the testimony works out, but I got a feeling it's going to be a good one.
Awesome. Actually, says the Lord that even whilst you're crying, you're still going out there to be a blessing to others. And
Mhm.
that's why I said we should, when we go through pains, we're not meant to focus on ourselves. We are out there to be a blessing to others. You have your daughter in the hospital, and you were still going to coach other women to put smiles on their face. Whereas at the corner, you're back there crying, crying to God. You
Mhm.
see? That's why I said, we wear a lot of hats, and we can do it all by ourselves. That's why you need a God factor. You need a Trinity being. You need God there to help you. I can assume if you never had God on your side, you probably wouldn't even go to talk to those women, because all your focus will be how to get your daughter to be back to life and doing well. You find out that your daughter is sick, she's in the hospital, and you are out there, putting smiles on people's face. It takes a lot, and it takes a woman who is self-control. It takes a woman who is focused, knowing what she's been called to do. Because a lot of times you find that people will throw in the towel, and it's not the time to quit. You could as well have quitted everywhere, quit your school, quit your coaching job, quit everything, all because you want. But you have the mindset, you have the staying power to keep going on, to keep forging. So I want to encourage everyone. We would surely go through pain as long as you're living. It is not said that as long as you're living, life is going to be bed of roses, not at all. You're going to go through pain, and if you don't have a scar, what do you have to? What story do you have to tell? You must have a scar to be able to tell your story. So you
Mhm.
must have a pain to, there is no pain, no gain. You have to go through the pain in order for you to be able to get something at the end of it. I want to thank you and also want to ask you, when you had your greatest achievement, how did you manage it to? Because I've asked you when you had the low moments. Now,
Mhm.
when you had a great achievement, what did you do? And how do you celebrate your small victories?
God has
Did you
about
keep it
20.
to yourself, or you just left it there? Because I try to encourage people that your small victories, you need to celebrate it. You need to motivate yourself in order to be able to do more. They could be small, but you need to do that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
No. So I think God has a hell of a sense of humor, right? Because this year, in the midst of the storm, was one of my, I guess, professional greatest achievements. I don't have the picture, well, I'll probably be someplace to share, but I was on a billboard in Times Square, and it was the nicest thing to see because it was on there for being, and I just want to make sure, because sometimes you rush past, to your point, the achievement. It was the top 40 African American women under 40 in the industry. And I was very proud of that, right? And I think the proudest part of it was my uncle, Uncle Donovan, drove through Manhattan, and he said, "That's my niece," and he took a picture. It was a very blurry picture, but he did take a picture. And I was getting the pictures all day, but I didn't know what it was for because I was in the midst of so much between Skylar and school and my day job. And I didn't understand. And then I got the read of what it was and what I was selected for. And I said, you imagine I get a billboard, I get to be on a digital billboard in Times Square, and I didn't have to twerk when I called my grandmother. I said, I didn't even have to twerk, Grandma. I'm up there and I didn't have to twerk at all in the street. And it was very proud, but not for me, but my family. And my father, who was sending the picture around, he's a very humble guy, but very proud man. And he was sending it around to the world, right? In the group chats and the this, and I saw it on Facebook, and I saw it in Jamaica, and I saw it all over the place. And for me, it was nice to be recognized as an African American woman and as under 40 and doing all these things. But my father's pridefulness in it was really what shook me, because to me it meant that all of his struggles, his working 90 hours a week, everything he went through, we've done it. We've done well. I think when we bought our house, I felt the same way. We buying a house early on in life, and my kids, all those things. But this year, that was probably one of the most relevant ones.
Great.
Mhm.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Oh, of course.
Thank you. You see, that's the reason having a family, having a village and a circle of people who know you and who recognize you. And that's what they do. They tend to be there for you when you're going through your low moment. They tend to be there for you when things are going well with you. Like when you had your picture on a billboard, everybody was celebrating you, everyone was happy that you were able to achieve. So it's always good we make a choice of the people we want around us. I want to thank you for making that time to come for this show. And I want to thank you. Would you have a last word? What would you want to tell the audience? What do you want to leave? Perhaps there are people joining us very at the last minute, or people who would watch the replay. What word would you want to give to the youth, to the word? Do you have a last word? You want a parting word?
I think that the lessons that I have learned and continue to learn in life is that it is okay to spend time with yourself and learn you, because it's really helpful to know you as you navigate the world. And I don't think I came upon that until the last couple of years, where my time with me and my peace is non-negotiable. And if I choose to say no to a dinner, to a cocktail, to a meeting, because I just want to spend time with myself, that's okay, right? Because the more I know me, the more I can navigate in all spaces, professionally and personally, right? And that means with your family. That means if you tell, for me, my aunt, I can't go with you to the TJ Maxx today. If I'm like, no, you know what, husband, I'm going to run to the gym after work. So can you watch the children? Like that's okay. And I think that those things are important. I think that the other part of it is take, as long as you have ambition, you can make it anywhere, right? I think you can have a degree in anything you want. You cannot have a degree. And if you're ambitious enough and learn and are able to learn and figure it out, you certainly can make it. But I think the smaller things in life matter. And I always kind of have to remind myself that you can't get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life, right? So the small things matter. So enjoy your people, be good to people, right? You're not going to have good people in life unless you're a good person yourself. So when you see people on the outside and they're smiling pretty and they look lovely, you don't know their journey, and don't assume that their journey is perfect and yours is terrible. You know what I mean? My dad always says, and I always remind people that compare yourself to the best, not the worst. And if they can make it through in the midst of, so can you. So I think those are the things I would share.
Thank you so much. I appreciate. That's a great parting words. You know your people, and do not, compare yourself. People have diverse things they've been through, but you attract the people you want around you. Yeah. If you have a smiley face, you attract smiling people. So let's all go out there to be people of difference. Let's make a difference in our world. Let's be a people of difference. I want to thank you for making the time to speaking with us today and sharing your story with us. We really do appreciate you. And I want to thank you. My love to your family, your supporting family, your husband, and the kids. And I wish them a happy birthday. And I'll be sharing this video with you too, so you can share with your work and people around you who you want to be a blessing to. I also want to thank our viewers and people who are watching us today. I want to say thank you for being on this show, and thank you for being with us. And I want to say, do have a good evening and have a restful evening. So we'll meet in our next episode. Have a blessed day. Bye, everyone.
Have a good one, guys.